Hi aspirants, in my lecture number 7, I will discuss another topic, Environment Impact Assessment, GS Paper 3, which will be taken in two parts. In this part, we will discuss history of EIA, meaning and objective of EIA, need of EIA, Indian policies, guidelines and legislation in EIA. With innovative pedagogy and excellent content, we request you to enroll for our classes in large numbers, which will provide us support and encouragement. Please take note of the following questions on EIA, which appeared in Civil Services Mains Exam 2020. The aspirants are kindly requested to listen to my lecture till the end for answering the following question. How does the draft EIA notification 2020 differ from the existing EIA notification 2006? Now let me start my lecture with history and background of environment impact assessment. Since its beginnings more than 50 years ago, EIA has evolved from assessing only impacts on the natural environment toward integrity and integrating social and health impacts as well. EIA was first introduced into US environmental policy in the 1960s. This served as a catalyst for many other countries which began to implement EIA policy throughout the 70s and early 80s. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the European Union have been at the forefront of implementing EIAs internationally since the mid-80s. The United Nations gave EIA a substantial push in 1992 through Principle 17 of the Rio Declaration, which emphasized the importance of EIAs as a national instrument to be used for all projects likely to have significant adverse environmental impacts and which are subject to the decision of national authority. Now we move to history of EIA in India. The concept of EIA has its roots in the US. Embracing the new liberal policies in the 70s, the US passed environmental laws to include scientific assessment and public participation while taking important environmental decisions. In India, the environment impact assessment process was founded by the enactment of the National Environmental Policy Act 1970. Most of the nations in the world have implemented EIA. On one side, it acts as a key to control the activities of private entities. On the other hand, it is a prerequisite for grants or loans by international financial institutions. Now we move to meaning and objective of EIA. Environment impact is defined as the change in the environment resulting from human activity. The environment impact assessment is performed by inspection, analysis and assessment of scheduled activities to ensure environmentally safe, sustainable development and foresee potential consequences together with the mitigation measures. In other words, it is the study and analysis of the environmental feasibility of a proposed project which could impact environmental safety, public health and natural resources. Hence, its importance as an early warning for potential environmental issues arises from the project. Environmental impact assessment is considered a tool for taking environmental consideration into account at decision-making processes and provides a regulatory framework regarding activities that affect the environment. EIA provides an opportunity to identify key issues and its stakeholders early in the life of a proposal so that potential adverse impacts can be addressed before final approval decisions are made. The objective of EIA. The objective of EIA, that is Environment Impact Assessment, is to foresee the potential environment problems that would arise out of a proposed development and address them in the project planning and design stage. EIAs are carried out on a wide variety of sectors including agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, mining and forestry, etc. Projects requiring an EIA can be large, such as a hydroelectric dam, or small, such as a new hotel on a beach. However, the level of impact on human and environmental health, rather than the size of the project, is the most important aspect of decision making on the need for an EIA. Why do we conduct an EIA, or what is the need for EIA? Human well-being is closely connected to environmental sustainability. As a result, all forms of human development, such as building infrastructure, that is roads and pipelines, mines and tourism facilities, etc., have an impact on the surrounding natural environment and vice versa. This is evident when we consider the results of large-scale development like open-pit mines, hotels for thousands of people, and large hydroelectric dams that often have irreversible impacts on the environment and the livelihoods of people because of large-scale deforestation, excessive water use, habitat destruction, and resettlement. Because of the complex relationships between the natural and human environments, it is very important to try to predict the environmental and social impacts of programs, projects, and planned developments that may alter the quality of the environment and impact well-being. As the human population continues to increase and natural resources become more limited, the importance of improving the sustainability of development and identifying mitigation measures, and thus the importance of creating high-quality AIAs, become greater. Indian policies, guidelines, and legislations. This is the next topic. Environmental impact assessment in India commenced in the early 1976-77 when the Planning Commission asked the then Department of Science and Technology to examine the river valley projects from an environmental perspective. This was subsequently extended to cover those projects which require approval of the Public Investment Board. These were administrative decisions and lacked the legislative support. The Government of India enacted the Environmental Protection Act 1986. The Environment Protection Act was enacted in the year 1986. It was enacted with the main objective to provide the protection and improvement of environment and for matters concerned therewith. The Act is one of the most comprehensive legislations with a pretext to protection and improvement of the environment, to take strict actions against all those who harm the environment. What are the objectives of Environmental Protection Act 1986? The Environmental Protection Act 1986, in short it is EPA, was passed with the following objectives. First, it was enacted to implement the decisions which were made at the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held at Stockholm in 1972. Second, creation of authority for government protection. Third, coordinating the activities of various regulating agencies, which is done under the existing law. Fourth, the main task is to enact general laws for environmental protection which could be unfolded in areas of severe environmental hazards. Fifth, providing deterrent punishment to those who inculcate in endangering the human environment, safety and health. Sixth, the main goal for the environment should be sustainable development, and it can be regarded as one of the goals of Environment Protection Act 1986. Seventh, sustainable development includes achieving the object and purpose of the Act as well as the protection of life under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Now we move to another EIA notification 2006. Now what are the salient features of EIA notification 2006? Environmental Impact Assessment Notification of 2006 has decentralized the environmental clearance projects by categorizing the developmental projects into categories, Category A and Category B. Category A projects are appraised at national level by Impact Assessment Agency and the Expert Appraisal Committee, and Category B projects are appraised at the state level. State level Environment Impact Assessment Authority and State level Expert Appraisal Committee are constituted to provide clearance to Category B process. After 2006 amendment, the EIA cycle comprises of 4 stages. First is the screening, second is the scoping, third is public hearing, fourth is appraisal. Category A projects requires mandatory environmental clearance, and thus we do not undergo the screening process. Category B projects undergoes a screening process, and they are classified into 2 types. First is Category B1 projects, which requires mandatory requirement of EIA. Second is Category B2 projects, which do not require environment impact assessment. Thus, Category A projects and Category B projects undergo the complete EIA process, whereas Category B projects are excluded completely from EIA process. Now we move on to salient features of draft notification 2020, that is 2020. On March 23rd, 2020, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change released a draft environment impact assessment notification for public consultation and invited comments by stakeholders on the same within 60 days. EIA is a process by which any new infrastructural development project, for example, the construction of a highway or dam, etc., needs to get environmental clearance from the concerned regulatory authority. The salient features of the notification are as follows. First, replacement of the incumbent 4-stage process by a 6-stage process. The 2006 framework provides for 4 stages in the process of EIA. First is the screening, second is scoping, third is public consultation, and fourth is the appraisal, which has been mentioned above. The draft EIA notification 2020 proposes a 6-stage process. I am repeating, it is a 6-stage process. First is the scoping, second is preparation of draft EIA, third is public consultation, fourth is final EIA, fifth is appraisal, and sixth is grant or rejection of environmental clearance or environment permission. However, the change is mere in the nomenclature, as these steps exist even under the current framework, that is EIA notification 2006. The only difference being the 2006 notification does not term each step of the process as a different stage. However, there is one significant difference, and that is the screening stage, which exists under the 2006 notification, is nowhere to be found under the draft notification. Second, effective increase in the number of categories of projects. The current framework under the 2006 notification consists of only 3 categories of projects, A, B1 and B2. However, the draft EIA notification proposes an increase in the number of categories of projects to 5. First, a project requires prior environmental clearance from the ministry. Second, B1 projects fulfilling general conditions mentioned in clause 3 requires prior environmental clearance from the ministry. B1 projects not fulfilling general conditions mentioned in clause 3 require prior environmental clearance from the State Environmental Impact Assessment Agency or Union Territory Environment Impact Agency. Fourth, B2 projects which are required to be placed before appraisal committee require prior environmental clearance from State Environment Impact Agency. And fifth, B2 projects not required to be placed before the appraisal committee require prior environment permission from State Environment Impact Assessment Authority. Finally, environment permission. Under the current framework, Category B projects which do not fulfill the general conditions do not require a prior environmental clearance. However, the new framework under the draft notification of 2020 proposes that Category B2 projects which are not required to be placed before the appraisal committee, although do not need a prior EC, however, they do need a prior environment permission, a concept which was alien to the existing framework of 2006. The draft EIA notification 2020 had brought several changes to the existing framework. While some of them are salutary and worth of being retained, some might need reconsideration. What are the salutary changes proposed in draft notification 2020? First is comprehensive list of definitions. The draft EIA notification 2020 has introduced a slew of definitions of all the major components and important aspects of the EIA process. Such an inclusive and comprehensive list of definitions was lacking in both the earlier notification, that of 1994, as well as in 2006. Second is introduction of technical expert committee. Third is reduction of timelines for grant of environment clearance. The final decision with respect to grant or rejection of the environmental clearance or environmental permission, as the case may be, should be taken within 90 days of the submission of the final application and supporting documents. This is a reduction of 15 days as compared to the existing framework as under the 2006 notification. This is a welcome step as it makes the process speedier, thus enabling the project proponent to begin with the project sooner than later. Third is shift to online mode of applications. Fourth is appeal to National Green Tribunal. Such a provision for appeal will keep a check on the regulatory authority from exercising its powers arbitrarily and will thus ensure maintenance of rule of law. Before I sign off, please stay tuned for my next videos. Please share this video with your friends and subscribe in large numbers. We would again request you all to enroll for UPSC Mains Exam GS Paper 2021 and Prelims Cup Mains Exam 2022. You can contact mobile number 8368501642 for further details. I am repeating the mobile number 8368